They were stunned by how much gold there was there. And so what I want to say to you as African Americans is that I know that there might be people that will tell you that, oh, Africa is not a big deal. Who cares about Africa? We got problems here in America and we got to think about America. And I get that. But I would encourage you, before you make a comment like that, I want to ask you, have you been to Africa? Before you make a comment like that, I'd like to ask you, have you ever connected with people, from the diaspora in Africa on African soil? I'd like to ask you, have you ever been in a space where blackness is not a liability, it's actually an advantage? Have you ever been in that space? And besides Atlanta, some of y'all, the best we know is going to Atlanta, right? And Ghana is like Atlanta on steroids, because the black people here are doing every job in the country. There are black people, you know what, like I'll give you an example. A lot of us run around saying we want a black person on the money, like put a black face on the money. We need a black face on the money. Y'all racist, put a black face on the money. And I thought about it, I said, oh my God, I went to Ghana, right? Black people are on the money in Ghana. Black people are on the money, right? Like, you don't need to ask a white man's permission to get your face on the currency, because dozens of African countries have already done that. That's been done. That's been done. And so I'm not sitting here saying that America is not our country. We know we own America because we built it. We own America, but just because somebody owes you $100 don't mean you should turn down another $100 that somebody else says that you're owed as well, right? Like taking the money over here does not mean I can't take what's over there, right? You are in a special position as African American people. I don't know if you know how special you are as African American people. If you ever go visit the slave dungeons and see what the slaves went through, and the fact that your ancestors survived that, I don't know. You have to really see that to really understand how unbelievably talented, strong, and capable you are. And you have no understanding. You have no idea how much of an inheritance that you have received. You just don't see it because it wasn't in dollar bills. See, you don't think you have an inheritance because it didn't come on some fucking greenbacks, right? You think you don't have an inheritance because it's not at Bank of America, or you can't go and withdraw it out the bank and go spend it at your local Walmart. Like, you think you don't have an inheritance because you don't have any money. Well, I'm here to just tell you straight up, point blank, period, black people, you received an inheritance from your ancestors that is 1 billion times more valuable than any amount of money a white man could ever give you. When the fact that your descendants, you're descendants of slavery. I don't care if you consider yourself ADOS, DOAS, FBA. I don't care. All I know is that you are excellent in terms of how you are built. So to me, the inheritance that we received is the fact that their survival through the worst form of slavery known to man, their survival through the slave dungeons, where you spend 10 minutes in there, you're amazed that any person could survive in there. I bet most people can't survive in there for a day, let alone 3 months at a time. Your ancestors survived Jim Crow. They're surviving mass incarceration. And you are the descendant of that. That kind of makes you almost damn near superhuman. So they gave you an inheritance in their blood, in their sweat, their tears, and their trauma. You inherited a kingdom of your own. The kingdom is in your blood. The kingdom is in your melanin. It's in your veins. And so I say all this to say that part of that inheritance means that you are among the few people on the earth who can go and make a claim in America and say, y'all owe us 15 trillion in America because we built it, get over it, 15 trillion over there. And you can make a claim in Africa because you can say, hey, you know what? My blood traces back to Ghana. My blood traces back to Sierra Leone. My blood traces back to Nigeria. I own a piece of that too. That's a very powerful thing. And I think that anybody, and I hear people that say, like, screw Africa, I don't care about Africa. And I really want to address that point directly. I heard a couple of people that I don't think have ever been to Africa, don't know nothing about Africa. So, and I heard them kind of say, oh, well, screw Africa, Pan-Africanism's dead. Who cares about Africa? And I'm just here to tell you, you have to forgive people for being stupid, because stupid people ain't never learned nothing. Like, you have to forgive them for being ignorant because they've never done the research. You have to forgive them for reciting white supremacist rhetoric because white supremacist is all they know, right? White supremacy is all they've ever learned. And so what I will say to you is that I don't care who talks greasy about me. I say if you talk greasy, then I don't care if you talk greasy. If you can talk factual, then that means something. Have you done the research? Did you get on a plane and go spend weeks and weeks and weeks in an African country? If you've done that, then cool. Then I'll listen to you. But if you've never done that, then you're basically a white man with black skin. You're a white supremacist wearing black skin. Most of the white supremacists in America have black skin. So let's get back to the key point. Do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, please do that. So let's talk about Byron Allen. Now, Yvette Carnell and Antonio More, who run the ADOS movement, pretty much work for Byron Allen. Like, they work for Byron Allen at the Griot. Byron Allen bought the Griot, and you saw Byron Allen has this case with the Supreme Court, and he's been suing Comcast, and it kind of became kind of a big thing. Well, here's what's fascinating, right? So I remember hearing, the ADOS founder say, "Oh, well, we don't like that Negro because he's just a dirty capitalist." Jay Morrison. We don't like that Negro Jay-Z because he's a dirty capitalist. They just kind of would attack him. We don't like Boyce Watkins because he's a dirty capitalist. And unfortunately, it comes off as, I just don't like any black person who has more money than me, right? I'm struggling, I'm living in my mama's basement or whatever. I'm a nobody. So I'm going to just attack everybody who is somebody because that'll make me a somebody because I attacked the right person. Well, here's the problem, right? Well, eventually you go from being a nobody to becoming a somebody. Eventually, you might have an opportunity, like they did. You get a chance. Maybe the New York Times writes a really ugly article about you or something, but you think that's a come up that white people are now talking about you. And suddenly you're caught in this weird predicament. So a guy like a Byron Allen says, "Hey, come and work with me at the Griot. I'll put you on the Griot." And you see them on the Griot all the time. And I found it fascinating that they're with the Griot and working with Byron Allen, because I was like, well, if you said Jay Morrison is a capitalist, and you said Jay-Z is a capitalist and I'm a capitalist, and so all these capitalists, Dr. Claude Anderson, you didn't like him because he's a capitalist, but Byron Allen got more money than almost all them people put together. Jay-Z might be a billionaire, but I don't think Jay Morrison's a billionaire. And Byron Allen is like, if Jay Morrison's like a capitalist at level 3, Byron Allen's a capitalist at level 15, I think. I'm not sure one way or the other. I'm just trying to do the math here, and so I'm saying, are we saying that that capitalists are dirty if they're not giving you money, but once they give you money, then they're okay? Are we saying that, oh, well, the reason we're I'm sure there'll be some excuse like, oh, we're supporting it because we support the lawsuit and so you're saying that if a capitalist does something that you agree with, then you can let his capitalism slide. If that's the case, then it would seem to me that you would forgive Jay Morrison, because for all that Jay has done that's controversial, Jay has done a lot of good for a lot of black people. Dr. Claude Anderson has done a whole lot more for black people than Byron Allen ever has. No disrespect to Byron, I like Byron actually, but Dr. Claude Anderson wrote what is called the Bible of Black economics, called Powernomics. And if you read that book, you will see it's well researched, well documented, and it gives you information that you never would have had. You'll never get it from a white school. So his contribution was ridiculously high. So how would we write him off? You can't write him off. So my point is to say, and I'm not even going to get into the whole like attacking and back and forth stuff. I don't really care. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me, because I did the research on certain things, and I know how jealousy kind of works, and I know how people get like, oh, that Negro did this and did that. I'm really encouraging you to try to disconnect from that. I'm really encouraging you to, whether people agree or disagree, I'm really encouraging you to find solutions and to find your power. And I will say this, here's a couple key points I want to summarize this down to. Number one, you can't throw out every black person who makes money just because they're not poor. That is a communist socialist ideology, unfortunately. Extreme socialism, extreme communism, if you look at the history, it vilifies the rich. It says you're evil because you're rich, and there are people out here who are not rich. So we're going to all get together and go attack you because you have money, and that's your crime, right? That's not inherently what black people need. Black people, you need your wealthy people that will align with you and help you achieve important goals, right? So I don't fault Yvette Carnell and Antonio More for working with Byron Allen, who is a very proud capitalist. I don't care what you say, he ain't no socialist. He didn't get $1 billion in America, 400 million by being a communist or a socialist or giving his money away. He just didn't, right? I understand wealth very well. And I think Byron is okay. You know, I mean, you got capitalists out here that are really trying to hurt you. Byron Allen is not one of them. So I think that when you run around and you're attacking every person that has money and writing them off as a dirty capitalist, and then finally you meet a capitalist that actually says, "Hey, I want to help you," and if you've already attacked all these capitalists, then you're going to look like a hypocrite when you go and get up under a capitalist because he's helping you pay bills. And so I'm just here to say that I can observe that, I can break that down, but I'm not even really criticizing it because I don't think you should write those people off in the first place, right? Unless they do something to get themselves written off, unless they do something like I think what Oprah's doing is kind of dastardly. I think that what Oprah, I don't give me a yes or no if you think Oprah's on some BS. Like, give me a yes or no. Yes, give me a yes if you think Oprah is on some BS and that Oprah is tripping. Oprah needs to stop. Oprah needs to quit. Give me a yes in the chat if you think that what she's doing is a little bit out of line, out of pocket, not cool, not on code. She needs to chill. She needs to, seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we do have people in the community that need to get dealt with. But why don't you let Massa deal with them, Oprah? Why we got to go back to the plantation where when the slaves would get beat and they would actually get another slave, another black person to beat the slaves. Dr. Claude Anderson talked about that. When slaves, I don't know if you guys know that, but back on the plantation, when white folks didn't want to do something to black people and they didn't want to do the beating, they would get a slave to do the beating, right? And Oprah, unfortunately, is positioning herself as the head slave because you're beating all the black people, but you ain't got nothing to say about Harvey Weinstein. You ain't got nothing to say about Michael Epstein. You ain't got nothing to say about Bruce Springsteen. She's like, I ain't gonna say Sting ever, or Zuckerberg, or none of these other names, right? That sound like they're from Jerusalem because they got the power to take me down. So because next thing you know, Oprah's little scandals be popping out. Now, because I don't know if y'all remember, Oprah had their whole history with drugs, right? I don't know if y'all remember that. She actually went on TV and confessed about some of that because an ex-boyfriend was about to out her on that, right? So Oprah's got her own garbage. Like if they wanted to really take Oprah down, they could take Oprah down. Let's just be clear. So Oprah is not a billionaire I can rock with because I see some issues, ethical issues in terms of how she operates as a billionaire. Sure, she gave the money to Morehouse and that was great, but I feel like that was a little bit of a smokescreen for a different agenda that is not our agenda. But I don't put Byron Allen in that category. I'm not saying he's a perfect guy. I just say that, what he's doing, what I see seems okay. Michael V. Roberts, the billionaire that I'm traveling with to Ghana. I watched him. I watch people very closely. If I don't like your energy, I'll get away from you. I like his energy. From what I've seen, he's been honorable. He's done a good job. He showed respect to the Ghanaian people. He would go to the villages and bow to the king, and I'm gonna tell you like this. There were some big name people on the tour who did not show respect to the kings. Let me just say that. I'll just say, I'm not gonna say nothing else, but there were some big name people that did roll through that I did see where I was like, oh wow, like, so you really don't have any respect for these individuals because white people put you on a pedestal, so you think you're better than them, and that ain't cool either, right? So my bottom line point is that there's nothing wrong with black people making money. And in fact, actually, I would, anybody I've ever challenged, including the leaders of ADOS, if they ever wanted to come and talk to me on the phone, I would talk to them on the phone. And I would say, okay, we know where we disagree. Can we start off with where we align? Can we start off with the fact that we both agree that reparations should happen for black people? And can we leave all the other stuff to the side? Can we at least sit together? Let's get on the stage or something. Let's have a summit, all of us. Because I'm even say the names. I don't like saying people's names on my platform because it actually makes them bigger when I say their name. But I'm gonna be the bigger man by making them bigger by saying their names. So the people that have had this weird obsession with me, like I hate Boyce Watkins for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but it's an obsession. So some name, well, I'll say a couple names. Some names I won't say because I ain't trying to get into what. I ain't trying to get into nothing that I think is destructive. But Yvette Carnell and Antonio Morey, when they founded the ADOS movement, I feel like there's something there. I don't know if it's a sadness or a jealousy or an anger or an irritation. I don't know what it is, but I would invite them to call me. Yvette has my phone number. I'd be like, call me and tell me why you're pissed off all the time. Why do you Is there something I did to hurt your feelings? Like, what can we do to find some common ground? Because I don't think the community wants to see us divided. There's another guy named Umar Johnson. I'm sad about Umar because I think Umar is the best speaker I've ever seen. I don't agree with everything he does, but I think that we have some things in common, and I'd like to build off of that, right? And where this is coming from and why I'm making this sort of public confession and really thinking out loud in front of thousands of people, which is probably not the smartest thing to do, but God is telling me that it's okay to do it, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it, is because I don't really want to fight with other Black people. It ain't that I want to, it ain't that I want to just, that I'm going to go agree with everything. But it just means like I've got white supremacy to fight, and white supremacy is a big enough battle for all of us. Rather than fighting with Yvette Carnell, I'd rather fight with Popeye's chicken. How about we start with fighting with all the white corporations that are coming in your communities and jacking millions of dollars out of your community every week? Why we got to always go after the Negro who makes $20 from selling a book, or some guy who made a couple $1,000s from running a Black business? Why not start with Popeye's chicken, who came in and straight carjacked the whole Black community with $100 million worth of greasy chicken that's probably going to kill half of our community by the time they're 45 years old? Why don't we start with all the companies from other countries, the people from other countries, and the Jews and Arabs and everybody else, Asians and everybody else that's coming in the community and doing a money grab and not putting anything back? I'm not saying that they're bad people. I'm not saying they don't have a right to do business where they want to do business. I'll just say this: if I can't do business in your community, then you can't do business in ours. How about we start there, right? Seriously, I'm really talking to everybody, all the Negro naysayers, everybody who has an issue with what we're doing in terms of trying to be positive. How about we start there? If you agree with me on this, let's begin at that point. If we can't do business in your community, then you can't do business in ours. You guys agree with that? What do you think? Vote. Everybody who agrees with that resolution, say aye. Say aye in the chat. If we can't do business in your community, then you can't do business in ours. If I can't go in Chinatown and make money and bring it back to the Black community, then you cannot come to the hood and make money and take it back to Chinatown. If I can't go to Jewishville or whatever they might call it, and get money and bring it back home, then you can't come to the hood and send money back to your community, right? Like, seriously, like, these are basic ideas that we can rally around as a community. These are things that can bring us together as opposed to dividing us apart. We got people out here that want to fight you over the fact that your shoes are red and their shoes are green, and they think green shoes are better than red shoes. And I can't do that. I can't do negativity. I can't. I'm sorry. And you know what? I've been poisoned. I'm not poisoned. Scratch that. I have been hit with a virus, but it's not a bad virus. It's a good virus. It's a good virus where I have been in the motherland, right? And I have been in a place where, everybody doesn't agree in Africa. Lord knows that ain't true, or true anywhere. But I'll tell you, I have been in a community for the last week and a half where all the Black people that I see on the street, I look at them and I say hi, and they say hello. For the last week and a half, I've been in a community where 90-something% of the families have a father in the home, and I left a community where the vast majority of our people don't even have a dad in the house, right? Like, I've spent time in a community where people are trying to build and come together, and then I got to go home to gangster shit, like warfare. Like, I hate that Negro because he's making more money than me. I can't do, I'm sorry, I'm learning how to speak African, and I can't speak Negro no more. I just can't do it. I can't go back to being a Negro. I mean, sure, I'm not going to let go of my name. My great-great-great-grandfather got his name Boyce from his slave master. I confess to that. But that experience as in slavery is part of what made me who I am. So I'm not letting that go because that's part of my story. So I'm gonna always be Dr. Boyce Watkins. But there's another guy who came into my space, into my life right now, and he's gonna be with me forever. And his name is Kabu Kubi Okansi. And he is from the Kubi Okansi tribe. And he has a heritage that goes back 1,000 years. And he believes in unity. He believes in family. He believes in building. He believes in independence. And he believes in Black power around the world all the time, 24/7, every 7 days a week and twice on Sundays. He believes in Black people coming together and creating an empire around the world, unlike anything that anybody's ever seen. And he also believes, and I agree with him, that African Americans can connect with the diaspora, not as a tactic to distract us from what's happening in Detroit and Chicago and LA, but as an avenue for strategic diversification of resources and strategy, such that we can become more powerful than we will ever become by trying to get it in Alabama, right? Like we can become more powerful than ever when we know that we've got channels of resources and communication all around the globe. We can become more powerful than ever when we have what the Chinaman has back in China. You see, other people have power bases. And if you tell me that your power base, is like, the west side of Chicago, that's where you're getting your power from, I don't understand that. Not that the west side of Chicago is a bad place with bad people. I love the west side of Chicago, but ain't no wealth in the west side of Chicago. But there's wealth in Africa, right? There's no oil in the west side of Chicago, but there's oil in Nigeria. There's no gold in the west side of Chicago, but there's gold underground, trillions of dollars in gold underground in Ghana and some of the other places around Africa, right? So my thought is like, look, man, why would you cut off an option just because you want to cut it off? It doesn't make any sense to me. One of the first things we learn in financial theory, one of the first things I used to teach my students when I would teach stock options is this. It's a theory that says an option never has a negative value. Options never have a negative value, meaning that you are always better off when you have more options, even if you're not going to use them, right? And so options are valuable. So understanding Africa gives you options. Doesn't mean you got to go there. Don't mean you got to live there. I don't think I'm gonna live here, right? I like being at home, right? But shoot, I love the fact that I have a new family that I can draw on and reach out to and connect with when I want to get something done, right? I know that coming together is power. In fact, for some reason, because of the brainwashing, because it's so deep, we've been taught the opposite, that we should fear each other so much that we'll never come together. And if you don't understand that's part of the master's plan, then I feel sorry for you. You see, because even animals understand that coming together is power. You ever see like a pack of geese together? You ever notice that like a lot of times geese will roll together? There's geese in my neighborhood, and I would go running and I would see all these geese. It'd be like 500 geese just chilling, like a whole bunch of them. And so think about this. If I wanted to attack one geese, I could kill that one geese all by myself. It would be very easy to do. But I can't take down 500 geese. What would happen if I attacked one of the geese and the other geese jumped on me? Then the geese would win. I cannot win that fight, right? So even animals understand that running in a pack makes you stronger. Even animals understand that alliances give you strength. Even animals understand that unity is a source of power and wealth. So for Black people, if you want to understand why you don't have power or wealth in America, it's because you don't have your unity. You let people divide you instead of coming together. So I'm just here for unity, man. I'm not here to tell everybody they should want to unify with me. I'm just reaching out to the people that want to get it in and want to get it done and ain't scared to try something different. Because we tried Master's Way for hundreds of years. We've tried to do what they teaching you in the white public schools. We tried that and we lose. I don't care if you're the most educated Negro in the room or the least educated, the richest or the poorest, or the most famous or the least famous. It doesn't matter. If you're under that umbrella of white supremacy, you're always going to be reduced in a certain way. I don't want to be under that umbrella of white supremacy. So one of the things that I'm doing publicly right now and making it 100% clear is I am disavowing disunity. I don't want no parts of it. I'm here to fight. I'm here to move forward. But don't get it twisted. I got a warrior spirit, and my son has a warrior spirit. That's why when you see that picture that we took, and this was legit. This was a legit naming ceremony. This was a legit coronation. We were legitimately brought into the Kubio-Kansi royal family. This was not fake. This was not for pretend. This was not dress up. This was not costumes. This was a real tradition that we were a part of. We had to get approval from the elders to be voted in. And let me just make it clear that everybody didn't make the cut. I'll just say this. Some of y'all can connect the dots because y'all followed this. Some very respected people here didn't make the cut. Let me just say that. So we had to get approval from the elders to be a part of this. So this is all very, very real. So that's what I'm on. I'm on some very, very pro-Black stuff. I typically am. And I was super excited to talk to a lot of people right here in the continent who were already following this channel. I was super excited to see all the African Americans I met who said, "Oh, when I saw what was here, they said when I saw what was here, I had to leave, I had to come back, I had to stay here." Right? I was super excited to hear people discuss their issues with white supremacy, and I'm like, damn, that sounds just like what we're doing at home. We need to be talking, man. Like you were over here the whole time, and this is yours. But they do that. They brainwash your kids too. Like, oh, how do they do it? You're kidding me. Do you mean that there are children that live right next to the slave dungeon and the door of no return who've never even seen it? Like, because they don't even teach it in school. The British, what? I mean, it's fascinating. You'd be amazed at the correlation. And for some of y'all might have already known this for many years. So I may sound like a little kid who just discovered ice cream. I have no idea. But I'm gonna tell you like this. I'm speaking on this issue publicly because I'm trying to make it 100% abundantly clear that at least one person who might be defined as a public figure, which might be me, is telling you guys, anybody who's telling you to let go of Africa ain't really helping you. I'm not going to criticize and attack those people for having their opinion. They can say what they want. But anybody who's telling you that Africa don't matter and Africa needs to be cut out the plan and screw Africa, chances are they probably can't name 5 African countries. And that's the truth. There's 54 countries with 1.2 billion people. And most of those countries, I think about 25 of them have a population of over 20 or 30 million. You got a clique over here, man. You got a gang over here. When you are in America, you feel like a minority because you're surrounded in a country that really isn't quite your home. I'm not saying you don't own it, you don't have a right to it, but you're like a Chinese, you're like a Chinese person in El Salvador. Like, that's what you are, right? But you come over here, suddenly everything flips. In most settings, blackness becomes a privilege. Whiteness becomes a liability. My friend that lives in Botswana, she said that, or South Africa, I'm sorry, she lives in Botswana, but she was in South Africa, and she said that when there were some black employees that were working at a KFC or something, right? And there were white people in line, and the white people had a certain South African accent. I think it might have been Boerish or something. I don't know. Y'all got to correct me on this, right? If I say anything wrong, forgive me if I say something wrong. I'm speaking from a little bit of ignorance, but y'all get the point when I tell the story. So they're speaking, and the black people could hear that these people have this certain accent. And do you know what those restaurant employees did? They did not serve them. They would look right past them and serve the black people one by one. They were giving the food to the black people and not giving it to the people that were responsible for apartheid. The people who were connected to the ones who were responsible for, they're like, we're not going to serve you. Like, this ain't yours. We're not. No, sorry. You ain't calling the shots up in this mug. And I think, and that's what's funny. And she said, I was with my friend who was African American, and he was like, this is outrageous. How are they doing this? They're not even serving these people. And she said, no, baby, you are home. You are in South Africa now. And that white privilege thing don't work over here. It does not apply over here. So I'm just telling you that the things that you think that are just sort of standard expectations, just that automatically come with being black, that's only true because of where you are. Think about this. If you're Chinese and you're out of China, then you become a minority. But when you go to China, you become the majority. If you are Mexican and you are out of Mexico, then you'll be a minority. But when you go to Mexico, you become the majority. Well, if you are black and you're out of Africa, then you become a minority. But when you're in Africa, you become the majority. So what I would just say, bottom line, is that anybody who's not sure about it, anybody who thinks I'm just feeding you a bunch of bullshit, I encourage you, don't believe me. Go see for yourself. Go research for yourself. And I guarantee you that once you do the research, I don't know what your conclusion is going to be, but you won't be the same. I promise you that. I promise you that. So I started the conversation with a discussion about Byron Allen and capitalism and all that. And one of the reasons I brought that issue up is because I think we got to get out of this whole like you're a bad black person because you have money mindset. Because I think that where the ADOS founders get kind of caught up is now people are calling them hypocrites because they're aligning with this capitalist in order to get things done. Well, I say that if Byron can help you get things done, if he can help us get reparations through, then shit, that man's good, but good by me. But if he's only exploiting people and not helping anybody, then that's bad, right? So we need to build wealth. We need strategy. We need to build our own schools. We need to build our own businesses, and we need to move forward. And we need to understand that you're moving forward with a group of people, many of us are not perfect. And so, when we get to the point where we're trying to expose each other, like, oh, well, let me tell you about what he did, or here's a scandal about so and so, or whatever, then I want to preempt some of that and say, you're looking at a man who is not perfect. I know that Devin Fleming, I'm sure you're not perfect. DDS, I know you're not perfect. David K, are you perfect, David K? Joan Anderson, are you perfect? Vicky Dillard, are you perfect? Ain't none of us perfect. So what we got to do is let that stuff go. There's these aha moments like, I'm exposing you because you're not perfect. Don't trust that Negro because he did something bad in 1976, right? Well, you know what? All of us are imperfect people because shit, we are descendants of slaves. That's what we are. So anybody seeking to, as Vicky Dillon mentioned, sow seeds of division, you got to let that go, man. You got to just say, okay, I'm gonna let you sit over there in that bucket of white supremacy and divide as much as you want. We gonna go over here and we gonna try to build. And I think that's the best approach for all of us moving forward. So I forgive my enemies in public. They can do what they want to do, and I wish them the best. They should like let's all compete and have a race. How about this? We all compete and have a race to see who can get the best reparations package for Black people first. And if you win, then I'll give you all the props, right? So I don't care as long as we're winning together. Because I'm gonna tell you what, I ain't gonna be no one continent Negro no more. I'm going to be an intercontinental Black man. How about that? I'm no longer a one country Negro. I'm going to be an intercontinental Black man because shit, I'm sorry, Dr. Boyce Watkins ain't left. He's still here because he's proud to be African American, and I'm proud of what my ancestors fought through to get me here. But Kabu Kubi Okansi is up in his mug too, and he's adding the funk and bringing a level of power that Dr. Boyce Watkins never had, because Dr. Boyce Watkins was a strong Black man in certain ways, but he was also still a little bit of a Negro. And so I don't want to be a Negro anymore. I want to be a Black man. So God bless everybody. Thank you for listening to me. They're sending me notifications, so I think that means I got to go back downstairs. But please hit the thumbs up button before you go. Hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. I'll keep bringing back information to you guys. We're cataloging things that we're going to actually share in terms of investment opportunities that I've seen and things like that. There's so much stuff. Right now I got to kind of process everything, but my team is organizing things because I knew I have an accountability to you guys to deliver information that will help you to achieve your goals and do the things that you guys do. Okay, so please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Also, if you'd like to help us grow this platform, we would love to have you as a member at intelligentblackpeople.com. That's intelligentblackpeople.com. And in fact, everybody who's a member of intelligentblackpeople.com, I'm going to email you guys and we're going to do a private session where you guys can ask me a bunch of questions and I will answer every single question in the private session. I just can't do it during the live stream because it's just too many questions. But in the private sessions, when the groups are smaller, I can actually answer every question because I really want to be as helpful to you guys as I possibly can. So take care. Have a good day. Love you. And I'll see you soon. Be good. Peace.